What's up guys, it's me Deshaun. We're back again with another Fire Force video, and today we're going to be doing something very fun. And I know everyone's been wondering this since the Fire Force manga actually ended. Now that we finally hit this point in the series, who are the strongest characters? And for this video, I'll only be listing the top 10 strongest characters. If your favorite character didn't make the list, or if you don't agree with my placements on this list, feel free to comment your own list down below, but when you do, try not to be a douche, because I'd like to have you guys have a nice and friendly discussion as a community. And you guys might even disagree with some of my placements with this list, but I'm going to try my best to explain them. And more than anything, I think I should mention that I'm not about to be doing this with power scaling calcs or anything along those lines, because I'd more or less like to follow exactly what was stated in the manga rather than inferring how strong I think the characters are based on certain feats with calcs. And to start this list off, at the number 10 spot we have Sumire. When it comes to firepower, Sumire is probably the first character that shows us such an insane degree of firepower with her ignition ability, being able to both attack and defend with vibrations. When she defends herself with these said vibrations, it practically makes her untouchable, because the moment you touch her, you will be severely damaged, even turning anything that she can vibrate into rubble. And that's not even the most dangerous part about her ability. With these same vibrations, she can actually shake the world, causing earthquakes. And if she were to use these same level of vibrations on a human, let's just say there's a reason why Kareem stole all of the heat from her attack in that instance when she almost killed him. With this insane amount of power to casually cause an earthquake, there's a reason why she's starting this list. Now, number 9 on the list is Charon. From the moment Charon was first revealed, he was an absolute monster. He was literally bullying Shinra. From being impervious to blades and fighting Kurono head-on, it is a no-brainer as to why he made it on this list. And when you take into account that he was slapping an O-Gun who matches a stage 1 burns and firepower, which was able to toy around with the demon on the Chinese peninsula. The fact that Charon is casually slapping an O-Gun at this level is absolutely insane. And then when you take into consideration he deflected an attack that put a crater in the moon and has a limit form that can take so much fire that he was able to shoot a planetary-esque blast. And next on the number 8 spot, we got the leader of the 1st Brigade himself, Captain Burns. Burns is so strong that his stage 1 form scales to a demon infernal. He wouldn't be able to necessarily generate enough firepower to destroy that demon infernal, but he'd be able to beat the living crap out of it, similar to how O-Gun did during the Chinese peninsula. Not only this, Burns is so strong, it's been a long time since he's even felt a tingle or any form of pain for that matter while he was a fire soldier. Well, that was the case until he met Shinra. He's so strong in stage 1, as Shinra would describe it, taking a step towards him is going to crush me. The sheer force of his power alone was enough to push Shinra away on more than one occasion. Not even just that, when Burns was in stage 2 of his ignition ability, he was able to tank an attack that took out Charon, aka the Corna. Keep in mind there are 5 stages. And in stage 5, Shinra actually had to make an Adala link and tap into his light speed for a brief moment just to match Burns. If this doesn't say enough about his strength, I don't know what else possibly could. Burns might not be able to cause an earthquake or shoot a giant planetary laser from his hand, but his firepower alone would let him be able to defeat Charon and Sumire. If you put Burns in the same situation as O-Gun when he fought Charon, there is no doubt in my mind that Burns would have actually done some damage and beat Charon, when you take into consideration that Charon got beat by Kuruna and Hinawa's Velocity Rampage. And for the number 7 spot, we have Feiry. What puts him on such a high level is the fact that he can stop time just like Sho and Shinra. In the sheer fact that Shinra only tapped into his time stop ability for 1 second and turned the tides between him and Burns should say enough in itself. Sho and Shinra are both in an entirely different league, and Feiry is one of the only characters that can actually play in this ball game. If stopping time wasn't enough for you, this guy has gravity manipulation as well by increasing the mass of his targets. If being punched in one direction while your body was getting sent in another direction wasn't enough to show you that this guy plays with his food and that his ability can be a bitch to deal with, I don't know what else could tell you that. Unless you want to take into account that this dude literally used his gravity ability and ripped the moon from the sky and then began to make that same moon crash into the planet like it's Majora's Mask. Not only can he stop time like Sho and Shinra, but he ripped the moon out of the sky. And then he can entirely discombobulate you while you are fighting him. Literally getting overwhelmed by the sheer force of his gravity and not knowing what's going on around you as he sends you in every which way in different direction that he possibly can. As for the number 6 spot, we've got Sho. Another character who can stop time. Outside of entirely outclassing you at speed with Separate Universe and just inevitably speed blitzing you, Sho's destructive force is obviously not the reason why he's so high on this list, but it is his speed entirely. If he can already just outclass you and beat you in an instant, that should say enough in itself. But if you could catch up with Sho, then you'd most likely have a fair fight with him. But even then, if you were on the same playing field as Sho, he could still possibly outclass you with speed, as seen with Sho versus Feiry. Despite Feiry also being able to stop time, Sho was able to instantly defeat him with his insane speeds. So Sho is literally in a different dimension of speed than 90% of the cast in all of Fire Force. And then even if you were to go onto the same speed dimension as him, he could still slap you. Obviously, there's a reason why he's this high on this list. But believe it or not, there are still characters stronger than even that. Characters like the one in our number 5 spot, Dragon. His pressure and presence alone is absolutely disgusting. From the time we first saw him fight Arthur and completely tank Arthur's attack that cut through an entire building, we knew what was up with this character. He is in a completely different league. There is a reason why even as a child he was known as a walking disaster. Dragon casually spitting could level a fucking building. As the walking disaster, Dragon was so strong. He was literally cleaving continents and burning seas. He is so strong, the pressure that emanates from his body could destroy you and damage you. In a base form, he is impervious to plasma. And we haven't even talked about his second form yet, his dragon suit form. And in this form, Dragon and Arthur fought for the fate of the earth. And the dragon that we knew that was burning seas and cleaving continents is now destroying stars by punching through them. And not even just that, one blast from his fire breath easily destroyed hundreds of them, as we see them all explode as Arthur and Dragon continue to clash. And when it comes to the number 4 spot, when you take into consideration who Dragon is actually fighting, it only makes sense for Arthur to be right after him, in terms of being the 4th strongest in the series. During the Arthur versus Dragon fight, Arthur and Dragon, obviously I said this before, when they both fight, they destroy stars. The fact that Arthur is even able to clash with Dragon and then eventually defeats him puts him on another level entirely from the rest of the cast of the series, unless you want to take into account the next 3 characters on the list. Not only does Arthur defy death, but in his ultimate attack, Steeled for Death, he actually divides the earth and cuts it in half. I think the most impressive thing that Arthur has done was take Dragon Star Destroying Breath. Star Destroying Breath. What kind of toothpaste can fix that, bro? Somebody please tell me. But anyways, he tanks this attack to the face, cuts the planet in half, and basically has the same feats and stats as Dragon. Now, number 3 on the list is kind of debatable because we never actually see him perform a star level attack. But I'd have to say number 3 on this list has to be Benimaru. Not only did he teach both Arthur and Shinra, but this dude is so strong that his fight with Shinmon Hibachi actually began to warp reality. This reality warping was so strong that he eventually warped the moon in its entirety, actually causing the moon to become the same moon that we've seen from Soul Eater. And the most insane thing is the fact that this reality warping isn't even the most impressive of his feats. But speaking of feats, what actually makes Benimaru and Arthur's placements on this list a little confusing is the fact that there is no concrete proof for Benimaru's feat at all. So let me try and explain this. And also let me try to explain why I put him above Arthur and Dragon on this list despite not having an attack that blows up stars. So when it comes to Benimaru's doppelganger, he generates an attack very similar to Arthur's Steeled for Death. Arthur's Steeled for Death attack is his ultimate attack and final attack as well. But Benimaru's doppelganger was able to casually generate a Nichiren big enough to encompass the entire planet. Now that's actually pretty insane. Now Benimaru actually goes up to this doppelganger who generated an attack of this level and literally slaps him in 1 second. Benimaru slapped the imagination of what the strongest should be from everybody. So it turns out that Benimaru is actually stronger than what humanity thinks is the strongest. So strong to a point to where he slaps this doppelganger in 1 second. Now let's put it into perspective as to why I think he'd be stronger than Arthur. Now, if Benimaru's doppelganger was strong enough to make an attack that could most likely match Arthur's Steeled for Death, correct? And Benimaru is in a completely different level from this doppelganger that generated an attack similar to Arthur's ultimate attack. What if Benimaru were to do a Steeled for Death attack himself? The thought of that in itself really just makes you realize how strong Benimaru actually is in comparison to the rest of the cast, despite him not having any flashy feats to display that same strength. As for number 2 on the list, it would have to be Haomeya. Not only does she have the same ability as Sumair, but she also has Inka's foresight ability as well, and the abilities of all the other pillars that are with her. It is basically impossible to hit Haomeya because of Inka's ability and Iris's ability, which gives her divine protection and the ability to see into the future, and the fact that she can even react to both Shinra and Sho when they're using their time stop ability should say enough about her in itself. And with Amaterasu's Light of Madness, she can easily create nuclear-esque explosions without even trying. And then when you take into account that Haomeya is basically using the power of her imagination to manipulate the dub into her favor, similar to how Arthur and Benimaru could manipulate their own imaginations to make things that aren't supposed to happen, because of how they use the power of Adala. And then you take into account that Arthur was able to take star level attacks and blow up stars with the power of the thoughts of all humanity. And then you take into account that the evangelist is a symbol of despair and the salvation of mankind. Basically a culmination of all of humanity's collective unconsciousness and all of mankind's creations, the gods throughout history. She is a culmination of all of that. And if that doesn't sound broken to you, I do not know what to tell you. And this is not even including her second form. There's not really much to say about her second form because it's not like she actually gets any new abilities. So I'm going to leave that as it is. Now it's time for the number 1 strongest character in all of Fire Force. And that is Shinra in his new form, Shinra Banshouman. Not only is he able to beat Haomeya with relative ease, but he literally restores all life on Earth, creates a god like Shinigami, making Shinra a god that has the ability to create another god, but he's also capable of creating brand new worlds because he actually takes the world of Fire Force and turns it into the world of Soul Eater with his powers, making a world filled with magic, dragons, hydras, and a bunch of other things that I'd rather not spoil. Just know that Shinra is absolutely broken, creating an atmosphere, taking an attack that travels at light speed and in an instant kicking it, rewinding time over and over and over and over again, not only just moving backwards in time, moving forwards and backwards in time. In the instant he made contact with this light speed attack and recreated civilization and life on Earth. Oh my lord, bro. He created a god! If this doesn't sell you on how broken Shinra is, and if this doesn't sell you on him being the #1 strongest character in the entirety of the Fire Force series, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, don't sleep on Fire Force. You know, we're broken in this series. That's all I gotta say, man. You know, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next Fire Force video or Gachi Kuda. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Ciao.